Well, I finally got to see Wicked and I went all out. I saw it in IMAX. What an experience. Let's talk about it. Hey guys, Dan here. This is Dan Reviews It. Welcome to my movie review for Wicked. This is in theaters right now and it is doing amazing numbers. It's getting already some awards love. It was named as one of the 10 best films of the year by the American Film Institute. It won Best Film of the Year at the National Board of Review, and I know that a slew of Golden Globe and Oscar nominations are headed its way, and well deserved, which we'll get into here in just a moment. First, though, let me welcome you back to Dan Reviews It. If you are one of my subscribers already, love that. Thank you so much for returning. Always enjoy having you guys back. But if you're not one of my subs, please consider hitting that subscribe button, click the notification bell, just like this video too, or comment below. All that stuff, of course, helps the channel out tremendously. All right, so Wicked. Look, Wizard of Oz is my number one movie of all time. I think it is just truly the greatest film ever made. I've probably seen it well over 100 times. But Wicked, I didn't really know much about. I've never seen the show. I did actually start reading the book, I don't know, probably around the time the show debuted, maybe 20 years ago or something. And it's a very, very dense book, and I just didn't get through it. I don't have a ton of time to read, unfortunately. So, that kind of went. But I knew the songs, but a couple of the songs, Defying Gravity, Popular. The other songs were new to me. And I knew the basic storyline. Now, this is just part one, and it's actually stated on screen when the titles come up. Wicked Part 1. I know a lot of people, I guess, did not realize that this was going to be split into two movies until recently. But they had always kind of talked about that because there's so much to the show that they didn't want to cut anything out. But the book also has some elements that I guess are not in the show, so they wanted to sort of expand on some of the character development and stuff like that with the movies. So part two will be out later, but for now we have the first half, and man, what a winner! So the basic premise of this, as it relates to the Wizard of Oz, is you have Glinda, the Good Witch, and Elphaba, who later becomes the Wicked Witch of the West, and they are at Shiz University, and become really close friends throughout the movie. First, they start, as hating each other and what have you, and then become good friends. And so we sort of see the twists and turns that takes, but it's all framed at the beginning of the movie with essentially the death of the Wicked Witch from the actual movie The Wizard of Oz. Dorothy's not there or anything because she's already gone home, but you have Glinda coming down in her bubble and explaining to all of Munchkinland that yes, the Wicked Witch of the West is dead, and someone in the crowd asks, well, weren't you guys friends? And then our story begins. So this was directed by John M. Chu, which I actually thought was a really good choice. His beginning part of his career was not great. He did a couple of the Step Up movies. He did one of the G.I. Joe movies, Now You See Me 2, which is not good. But then he did Crazy Rich Asians, which is one of the best rom-coms of, I don't know, the last decade at least. And then he did In the Heights, which is another Broadway musical adaptation and one of my favorites of the last few years. Loved In the Heights. And so I thought this is going to be a good choice for director because In the Heights, very colorful, very exciting. Crazy Rich Asians, beautiful with the scenery and all of that, of the culture and all of this. So what is he going to do for Oz? This is obviously a made up city, but has some basis in film lore and books before it, and of course, the musical itself of Wicked. And he did an amazing job. I mean, one of the brightest spots of this movie, and there are many, is the set design, the vibrant colors, and the muted colors when needed as well. And of course, Elphaba, if you know anything about Oz, the Wicked Witch of the West, is green. Elphaba, born green. So there's even a scene where she is in the woods, and I think it's more at night. But her green didn't, it stuck out among the background of all this forest and greenery and all of that. I mean, she could have blended in very easily, but the way that the scene was lit, the way that the scene was shot, and the way that the color palette of the scene, really accentuated her in this jungle backdrop. I mean, it was just that's just one small example, but the field of millions of poppies that I read he actually made that happen. It wasn't CGI. It's just the look of this film is amazing. And look, I think we would expect that, right, from the movie that first, when Dorothy opens that door in 1939 of her black and white universe, and we see all the vibrant colors of Munchkin Land. Look, we had to do something like that for this movie, right? And John M. Chu rose to that challenge. The movie looks fantastic. But let's talk about some of the other elements. For example, the acting. Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande. Cynthia plays Elphaba, and Ariana plays Galinda, who becomes Galinda. Are amazing here. I mean, they're definitely going to be Oscar nominated. Word has it that the odds-on favorites for supporting actress and actress are for other people, but I think they will definitely get nominated. And Cynthia Erivo, boy, I mean, she gives probably my favorite performance of the year, male or female. I mean, she is amazing in this movie. And look, we already knew Ariana Grande was multi-talented. She started out as a Disney kid. She is known obviously for her huge pop hits. So we know she's a great singer. We know she can act. We've seen her, not only on the Disney shows, but she does a great job every time she hosts SNL or comes on the Tonight Show and does something there. But this is another level. Maybe not for the singing, because we already knew she was a great singer, but she gives such a great performance here as well. I think her character is probably a little easier to play than Elphaba. I think there's a lot more nuance to Cynthia Erivo's performance as there is in Elphaba as a character. But look, let's not discount how great Ariana Grande is at sort of taking what Kristen Chenoweth gave us on the Broadway stage and sort of adapting it a little bit to give us something new with the character, but still sort of paying homage to all of those sort of hair flits and whatever that Chenoweth gave us. But Cynthia Erivo, I mean, this is next level stuff. Her acting, phenomenal. Her singing is off the charts. Now, I know she was in this Aretha Franklin National Geographic docuseries. I didn't watch it, but she played Aretha Franklin and did all of her own singing. Not too many people can do that. Jennifer Hudson, I think, was the one that did it in the film version. She can do it, certainly. But Cynthia Erivo, I mean, the voice on her is just outstanding. And everyone really is doing a great job here. We see some familiar faces, Jeff Goldblum and Michelle Yeoh in supporting roles. Peter Dinklage, the voice of the goat teacher, which is no surprise. He is all of these teacher roles. He was the teacher in the last Hunger Games movie, the prequel. He was a teacher in this recent movie I reviewed called American Dreamer. He's always like a college professor in his post Game of Thrones career. He's done obviously other things, but he seems to thrive on this teacher thing. And so voicing the goat teacher, and animals play a big part in this movie as well. And I thought, the CGI there was good. Obviously, those are not real animals, as the poppies were real. But the Easter eggs for Wizard of Oz fans are littered throughout this thing, as I'm sure they probably were in the Broadway show as well. But from a visual standpoint, you could do a lot more with this movie than you can on the Broadway stage. And I think, Chu really wanted to pay homage to that, and the writers too. Let's not discredit them. So this was written by Winnie Holzman and Dana Fox. Winnie Holzman, I know as the creator of My So-Called Life from the 90s, one of my favorite shows, but she actually wrote the book for Wicked. So she has her hands all over this movie. She co-wrote the screenplay for both parts, so to really give it that Wicked authenticity. And what's great about this movie is that even I'm a I don't want to say non-fan, but I've never seen Wicked. Uninitiated, let's say, right? I loved it. But all of the theater kids that I know, I have a lot of theater kids on Facebook from college, from high school, and they all love it as well. People that have seen the Broadway show multiple times, or a traveling show of it, have already gone to see the movie 3, 4, 5 times. They're loving it, and me, the uninitiated, but an Oz fan, sure, also loves it. But one of my buddies that I was talking to last week, who really didn't think he would like it at all. He went in because, oh, it's all hyped up. It's one of the big movies. I'm going to watch it. And he said it turns out to be one of his favorite movies of the year. And I couldn't agree more. It's easily one of the best movies of the year. It's going to get a lot of awards nominations. I don't know what it's going to win, but I guarantee it's going to be up for the Best Picture. Those 2 lead actresses are going to be up. I can see a Best Director nomination as well for John Chu. Maybe, maybe not. But definitely things like costumes. Oh my God. I mean, I could talk more about that. There's no original songs in this. Apparently they did write a couple originals for part 2, but they won't get any song nominations because these are all songs from the show. And the songs are good, not great. I mean, Defying Gravity obviously is a pivotal moment. And there's a few songs littered throughout that are very good as well. But Defying Gravity is obviously the pinnacle number. It's the closing of Act 1 of the show. And so it is basically the end of the movie here. And what a note to go out on. The costumes, amazing. The set designs I've already mentioned. So this thing is just firing on all cylinders. If I have one critique about it, it is that it does feel incomplete. I know it's a part 1, and that's something that I've gone over a lot, because a lot of the books like Harry Potter and Hunger Games have, their last book was split into 2 movies. Sometimes it feels complete, sometimes it feels incomplete. This felt a bit incomplete because we had that opening with Glinda at that point, talking to the Munchkins and everything. So we know there's a lot more to the story. And of course we know that just because we know it's part 1 and we know the show, whatever. But it feels a little bit incomplete in that regard. And I will say that I think there's a couple of songs that I didn't necessarily love. But there's one, like when they're in the library, where there's a lot of moving pieces, literally, and it just was staged beautifully. The choreography is beautiful. And then there's another scene at the dance that is probably the most beautiful scene I have witnessed all year in a film, where, I won't even give it away, but it's just, I mean, it brought me to tears. And a lot of other people in the theater, too. I heard a lot of sniffling when that scene happened. Boy, oh boy, I mean, this is a real winner. It's probably my second favorite movie of the year. Sing Sing still holds the crown for that, for number 1. But, boy, this is a wonder. I'm very excited for part 2. I leave Wicked with an A. If you haven't checked it out yet, you've got time. It's going to be playing in theaters for weeks and weeks and weeks, I'm sure, into the awards season. But look for it at the Oscars and the Golden Globes for many nominations coming its way. All right, thank you so much for watching Dan Reviews It. I'll see you next time. Bye.